What if I told you that workplace happiness isn't really about the free snacks or the ping pong tables? What if it's actually one of the most powerful and most underutilized business strategies we have today? Okay, let's dive into this, because the data is pretty clear that this isn't some utopian dream, it's a strategic necessity. Right off the bat, we have to start with a pretty staggering number. Research from the World Economic Forum shows that only 1 in 4 workers actually say they're happy at work. Think about that. That means a massive 75% of the workforce is feeling disengaged, uninspired, or just plain unhappy. And this really leads us to the central question of this whole explainer. It's a simple one, but it's powerful. If the people who make up a company aren't thriving, how on earth can the company itself possibly be healthy in the long run? Now, this isn't just a philosophical question. It's tied to a huge economic reality, one that's directly connected to that 75%. We're talking about a $1 trillion opportunity that most businesses are just leaving on the table.
And there's the number. According to the McKinsey Health Institute, if we invested properly in employee well-being, we could unlock a staggering $11.7 trillion in global economic growth. I mean, to put that in perspective, that's more than the entire economies of Japan and Germany combined. It's an absolutely monumental figure.
So where does all that value come from? Well, it's not magic. It comes from the direct, measurable benefits you get from a happy workforce. People are just more productive, they're more creative and innovative, and you guessed it, they are far more likely to stick around, which slashes turnover costs.
But here's the disconnect. Here is where the strategy falls apart for so many companies. Despite that nearly $12 trillion prize, only 19% of organizations are actually investing in systemic well-being. And that's the key word, systemic. It means most are still just tinkering around the edges instead of tackling the core issue.
And that brings us to the most crucial point of all. The reason most of these initiatives fail is because they're treating the symptoms, not the cause. See, real lasting change isn't about adding more perks. It's about fundamentally changing the culture.
This chart really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got these surface fixes, things like yoga classes or mindfulness apps. They're nice, for sure, but they're basically temporary bandages. The real, lasting impact comes from building a strong cultural foundation. We're talking about things rooted in trust, psychological safety, and a true sense of belonging. That's where the real work happens. So, who's responsible for building that culture? Well, this quote right here just nails it. Leadership is the main channel. They can either actively foster well-being, or through inaction or just poor management, they can become a channel for ill-being. The choice really does flow from the top down.
Okay, so if culture is the goal, how do we actually get there? What's the plan? The research points to a clear 3-part framework for making that change happen.
So, here are the 3 pillars. First, we have to recognize that work is deeply social and really reevaluate those connections. Second, leadership needs a total rethink. It has to become truly people-centric. And third, it's all about finding that sweet spot, using technology for flexibility without losing the crucial human relationships that sustain us. Let's just double down on that first pillar for a second, because this is so important. The research is crystal clear. Feeling like you are part of a positive social fabric at work is the single biggest influence on your well-being. Seriously, it outweighs almost every other factor. So, all of this leads to a pretty radical reframing. Let's be honest, the word happiness can feel a little, naive or out of place in a corporate boardroom. But the data is telling us we need to stop thinking of it as some fluffy ideal and start treating it as what it is, a core business strategy. So what do we even mean by happiness in this context? It's not about forcing people to smile all day. It's about strategically creating an environment where people feel valued, where their voices are actually heard, where they feel connected to their colleagues, and, this is a big one, where they understand how their work connects to a larger purpose. And this completely shifts the role of leadership, whether you're a CEO or you have a fancy title like Chief Happiness Officer. Their job isn't to ride in on a white horse with all the solutions. No, their most important function is to start asking the right and often really difficult questions. And here's the first one. It's so simple, but it's incredibly profound for any leader to ask their team and themselves, how can we give people back the genuine pleasure of coming to work? The second question flows right from that.
Okay, what can we, as leaders, concretely change? In our processes, our communication, our expectations, what can we change to make sure that work energizes people instead of just draining them dry?
And finally, this is the ultimate challenge. This is the big one. Are we truly ready to shift our entire mindset? To stop seeing happiness as an extra, a perk we add on when profits are good, and instead see it as the fundamental foundation upon which all high performance is actually built? To wrap all this up, here's a powerful reminder from the World Economic Forum. This isn't just about being nice or doing the right thing. Well-being is a strategic and economic imperative. It is, quite simply, the key to building an organization that can actually last. The insights we've been digging into today come from some really foundational work by Happiwise and the World Economic Forum, and they highlight a critical shift in how we have to think about the future of work. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.